Football games are one of the most rage and salt-inducing games you can play on any platform. I have seen many players of this kind of game raging and breaking their controllers due to pure disappointment in their play or in the game itself. Today, we are going to review Golazo 2 by Purple Tree and let us see if the game is any different. But before we start, drop a like on this video, subscribe to the channel for more Switch stuff, and ring the bell for all future notifications. And as usual, a massive thanks to those who watched my video and keep the channel alive. Disclaimer, the review copy was provided by the publishers, but this is not a biased review. Everything that I say in the scores given to the game reflect my real opinion about it. This review serves as a helpful tool if you want to consider purchasing the game. Golazo 2 boldly resurrects the glory days of arcade football games, resurrecting memories of games that everyone knows and loves. The sequel to this game adds street mechanics and fails to give it more depth. This is an excellent game for those who dislike football manager games or overly complex simulators. You simply play on the couch with your Switch. Golazo 2 is a direct sequel to the first Golazo, which was released in 2019. Golazo 2 differs from the first game in that it includes street mechanics and does away with penalties and fouls. This transforms the game into an arcade game. Like any other football game, Golazo 2 has no clear storyline. You can play any mode of the game at any time. There is no need to unlock anything, and you can begin playing each mode right away. I'll be surprised if they include a story and possibly a tutorial at the same time. As a result, I rate the story or lack thereof at 3 out of 5 stars, because it is expected for football games to lack a plot. To be honest, the controls are difficult to use, and the way the buttons are mapped is a little perplexing, particularly for the split-second transition from attack to defense controls. For example, I was attempting to tackle an opponent when the ball flew away during the animation. This was supposed to be a possession, but my character kept kicking the ball to the middle of the field and sending it to the opposing team's side. There are times when the controls do not work and you must tap several times before they do. This occurs far too frequently when you are running away from your opponent and then attempting to shoot a goal. If the evade animation is still active, the game will not register the shoot action. These minor flaws can irritate players because the controls do not function properly. Despite knowing about these issues, I continued to play the game, and as I played more games, I was able to overcome them. I must say that the control issues will be obvious within the first few hours of playing the game. This can be aggravating, but it's a common issue in video games. I can only recommend that you play a few quick games to familiarize yourself with the controls and keep track of your mistakes as you go. The rules are nearly identical to those of any football game, except that penalties and fouls do not count in street games. Penalty kicks are still used in official tournaments, but they are not as common as they once were. You would even argue that the game has no extra features and only simple mechanics. This type of gameplay was available on the Commodore 64 in the 1990s NFL game. All you have to do is get the ball and shoot it to the goal. There are no power-ups or hidden modes of play. You can also specify how long each match should last. The quickest time is 3 minutes. This is ideal for passing the time on the bus or playing for short periods of time. The game is set to the easiest difficulty level by default, but new players may think this is a trick in the new first hours of play. However, if you play the game for a longer period of time, you will become accustomed to how difficult it is and will be able to easily defeat any opponent. There are 4 different ways to play the game. You can play a quick match against a computer or a local match with 4 of your friends. If you bring friends who never played this game before, you will almost certainly make enemies and have an awkward time. Following that are the Street Tour, Tournaments, and World League. They all compete in a tournament-style series of games against AI opponents. I experimented with all of these modes until my favorite team, Monster, won all of them. Many opportunities were passed up in the game. One of them is an online mode, especially for those who are very competitive in this kind of game. Another issue is the lack of career mode, which would have been ideal if you wanted to play the game for an extended period of time. The most frustrating aspect of the game is the AI on your team. They do nothing but stand around most of the time. Unlike the opponent's AI, they can easily beat you up and score points. You can avoid these issues though by reorganizing your team and having 2 teammates guard your goal. However, this workaround is not always effective, and most of the time the AI on your team will simply stand near the goalpost and stare at the ball instead of attempting to stop the opposing team. Passing the ball to other teammates is also a pain in the ass. There is no no way of knowing which teammate will receive the ball, and it usually goes to the opposing team. You must be sprinting straight at your teammate, attempting to pass the ball directly in their face. Also, please allow players to skip the replay whenever they score. There is no way to skip this automatically, so you must repeatedly tap a button. It's kind of annoying. The game only runs at 30 frames per second, which is not good for a game that requires quick reflexes and actions. On the plus side, the game didn't crash or have any major issues while playing it. The game's battery consumption is also not an issue, as it only consumes 23% of the Nintendo Switch battery life during a 2-hour session. However, there are a few bugs that can make the game difficult to play. For instance, the AI never touches the ball and simply runs in the same corner of the field. It's as if the hitbox of the ball never touches the hitbox of the character. This happened to me a few times. The game has some nice sound effects. You hear a sound effect every time you hit the ball, the player grunts, the announcer says what you did, and you can always hear the crowd cheering in the background. The music isn't particularly memorable, which is a good thing though because it won't distract you from playing the game. It even helps you focus on the game. Despite the fact that the character designs and visual style are modern and reminiscent of Oli Oli World, the graphics as a whole are poor. Both the handheld and dock modes appear muddy, as if they were rushed. Another issue is the screen size of the handheld version, which it appears to be so small. You may not be able to tell where the ball is or where it has gone. Golazo 2 is difficult to learn for a new player, and it's not because of how the game is played. It's more of a game-wide issue, like how difficult it is to control and how stupid your AI teammates are. Is it worth your time? To be honest, I've played this game for nearly 30 hours, about 3 to 4 hours per day. This was done so I could write this review. The more time I spent playing this game, the better I became at it and overcame the flaws. However, if you're a casual gamer looking to have some fun, you might not want to spend too much time on a game that doesn't have a career mode. Is the price reasonable? I think it's a great deal for a game that you can play anywhere and in short bursts to kill time for $14.99 on the US eShop or the equivalent in your region. There are numerous ways to play it, but the best part is that you can play with your friends. The most important question to ask is whether or not the game is enjoyable. I believe that any game can be enjoyable if you put some effort into it, particularly in Golazo 2. Understanding how to play the game, how to control it, how it works, and where it fails, despite its flaws, the game is still enjoyable to play. Golazo 2 isn't as good as Mario Strikers, FIFA, or any other football game on the Nintendo Switch, but it has its own unique charm. This game is straightforward and plays like an arcade game. With that, I'll give Golazo 2 a Switch Mania score of 2.8 out of 5 stars. That is it guys, I hope you enjoyed the video and found it useful in deciding whether or not to purchase Golazo 2. I'll see you in the next video.